Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Ref the District. I'm Nathan Perry. That's the Stoner. Trev is going to be coming in hot. He will be here today. At least we are expecting him here today. So he'll be on in a little bit. But this is our flagship program where we stream live every Wednesday at 7:30 on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Of course, you can catch it afterwards as well on your favorite audio platforms. Wherever you are listening, make sure that you are subscribed to it. And if we can just get a couple more subscriptions on this YouTube channel, we'll break that 2K mark. So hopefully we get there. But it is the bye week for Washington. We've got still plenty to talk about here on the show. During the cool down, we're going to be talking about Washington's playoff chances. Are they going to make the playoffs? What is it going to take? Can they get the 4-0 and get that elusive 11-win season that we haven't seen since the 92 Super Bowl? Maybe. Or does 2-2 cut it? All that's going to be talked about in the cool down. And then during the game, we're going to be talking about how this season has gone so far and give out accolades. Who's the defensive MVP? Who's the offensive MVP? Some of you had a chance to answer those questions on our community page on our YouTube channel. So we'll be going over some of those results as well. And then here in the warm-up, we're going to be giving our closing thoughts on the Giants game number 1 as we prepare for number 2 here in the next couple of weeks. And then we'll be talking about how our thoughts on the game being flexed. Some people are excited, some people not so much. Jonathan Allen's giving away 100 tickets. We'll talk about that as well. The warm-up is sponsored by Sky Bar. Make sure you head down to Lexington, Virginia, or if you're in that area, make sure you hit up and see Trev in person, and you can just name drop us. Say, this is blank from your channel. We love you guys. Ref the District, and your first drink is on us. And all you have to do, like I said, go to this man, Trev, who finally shows up today.
You know me. I've got other podcasts to do. My bad.
He is a most wanted man here on all sorts of shows.
What up,
Trev? We just went through the rundown for today's show. Sky Bar sponsoring the warm up here as we give our closing thoughts on the tie against the Giants. Why don't you kick us off? Even though you came in, you're skating in. You didn't even, I'm not even going to let you catch your breath, my man.
Okay.
I want to hear right from you as soon as we get going.
Oh man, I'm disappointed. I hate a tie. No one likes a tie in football. They need to change that rule immediately, starting next season. Can't stand it. I know.
How would you change it though?
Yeah. How would you change it? That's a good question.
If 10 minutes is up, put another 5 minutes on. Whoever scores wins. Like, just keep adding. Like, somebody.
What about player safety? Aren't you worried about people being injured? And
hey, if you don't want to play football, sit on the sidelines. Okay, it's about winning. I mean, I know player safety is important, but another 5 minutes would be okay. But anyways, especially when you have plenty of times to win the game, especially when you put yourself in plenty of positions to win the game. It's very, very disappointing. It's also kind of embarrassing that two teams can't seem to score. And actually,
we're very much unwilling. I like Gus's take here. The tie was deserved for both teams. They're in the last, I would say, Washington's drive to tie it. It seemed like they wanted to win the game, but then after that, I'm not convinced either team actually wanted to win.
Yeah,
that's like 15 plus minutes of football that you're watching where neither team seems to be making the full effort. There's definitely times there was big pass plays. There was the big run play by Curtis Samuel. And then like both teams we're like, whoa, hold on.
Yeah.
Tie it here. We're not supposed to win it. We're supposed to tie it. And it pulled it off.
I mean, it's just, so that's where we had a chance to win the game in regulation and we had a chance to win the game in overtime and we didn't get it done. So it's very disappointing.
Let me ask you this. Would you guys have liked to see Ron to go for 2 when they scored towards the end there and there was still plenty of time left?
No. I mean, maybe, yeah, because we ended in a tie, obviously, but we didn't know that was going to happen. So
anyone saying yes to that is completely looking at it from hindsight. Because if they go for 2 and they miss that 2-point conversion and they lose the game 20-19,
Mhm.
people would be calling for Ron Rivera's head. Those same people who would be, who would have been championing it on their social media channels just a moment before would have been like, no, you should, that was bad play call. Or there's Scott Turner. A lot of you guarantee Scott Turner would be the person people would call for in that regard. So,
and I think also if they make it and they go up 21-20, then that puts a lot of urgency into the Giants with plenty of time left.
Which they did. They had their chances.
Yeah. Whereas if it's a tie game, then maybe they play it a little bit more conservatively, and then you get a chance to get the ball back because they're playing not to lose. That's kind of the mindset you're hoping for. And then you get a chance to get the ball back. But if you go up 21-20, then they're going to play with a sense of urgency because they have to score. And then maybe that puts your defense in a disadvantage position. So I was okay with the kicking the extra point as well.
Me too.
Yep, fair enough. Let's give a shout out to those already in the chat. We got Michael, Doug, we got P-Dub in the house, we got Kevin, EP, Craig, Commandalorian, Gus Bus. Everyone's here. Welcome. Make sure that if you're staying quiet, make sure you still just hit that like button for us. Want to real quick address Doug here. Hey, Doug, we appreciate, all the comments that you make on the channel. We see that you had some news with your family. Our thoughts are with you. And if there's anything we can do, you just let us know. Okay, Doug? Appreciate you. We've had lots of, comments here based on to shift it back into the sports realm. We have comments like this from Commandalorian. Like to see a touchdown in the red zone. We'd like to see Joey Sly make his field goals. That changes the game too. If they make that 52-yarder, that touchdown, maybe they're not as aggressive with Taylor Heinicke to get that touchdown to tie it because, you need to eat more time on the clock. I feel like that drive was very much a product of we're down by 7 points. We need to go score now and give ourselves enough time to potentially win this in regulation, where if they make that field goal, they probably do one of these methodical drives down the field where a touchdown wins the game for them and there's no time left on the clock. So there's a lot of, you can what if this to death. In the end, it's like you said, Trev, it's a bit of a disappointing tie. But Washington's still in it. Stoner, you said that this was not a must win, and they didn't lose.
Yeah.
I think you might have said that on Monday too, right? Like it was a must not lose more than it was a must win.
Yeah,
and they didn't lose.
Right. That's for sure. And now it becomes a must win this next game. But they left so many points out on the field, but so did the Giants. These are just two very equal teams with two mediocre quarterbacks. They both got good parts of their team. The Giants have a good defensive line. The Giants have a good running game. Washington has the same thing, a good defensive line, a good running game. But they just don't have those pieces to kind of overcome their inability throughout the games to be able to win a game like this. You're not going to see a tie the next time they play, but you're going to see a very similar game because they're very similar teams, very similar quarterbacks, not good enough, and they just leave a lot of stuff out there. And that's what not good teams do. Teams that are hovering around 500, that's what they do is they leave a lot of points out there. And so did the Giants. And it was such a Taylor Heinicke game too, wasn't it? He just does so many things kind of wrong, and he makes a few good plays, and then he goes out there when you absolutely have to have it. He just puts it all on the line, and he gets it for you. And then when you need him to do something in overtime, you can't do it. You know what I mean? And then here you are, you're at 20-20. It's a 20-20 game, and it just frustrates the heck out of you because you see what he can do at times, and then you see the crap that he does other times, and you just want to bang your head against the wall because you feel like he should be able to get you to 25, 26, 27 points a week, and he just can't. He's just incapable of doing it. And it's not just him. We've talked about it ad nauseum. It's the line, it's all these other things, but man, it just drives you crazy when that fourth down throw. I mean, who thought he was going to make that throw? Anybody? Trev, did you think he was going to make that throw?
I like the catch more than the throw, but because I mean, he makes those throws all the time, and
I know he doesn't make those throws all the time. That's why that particular throw was pretty dang on amazing, because he actually had one that was a scramble. He had a designed rollout that he completely missed a wide open receiver. Just I think it was Terry McLaurin on that one. Just earlier in the game. So the fact that he scrambled and then made that one was pretty
going left, throwing 18 yards downfield while running left on a 4th and 4, and actually hitting the guy right where he has to hit him, and Samuel catching that ball. And you're just like, why can't you do that more often? Why do you have to wait till our hearts are about to drop onto the floor until he actually does it? It's just really mind-boggling.
That was my big thing. I spent part of my weekend at Busch Gardens, and I couldn't get on the rides because I have heart issues. And here we go watching that game, and I'm like, come on, Heinicke. I didn't just skip all these roller coasters to be on the roller coaster with you. But that's exactly what ended up happening. People talking about, bet they'll tie again or they won't tie again. I tell you what, if I have a free bet, I'll put it on a tie, because those odds are probably astronomical.
Yeah, sure.
But tie.
They're again. Definitely not going to. They might go to overtime, but they're not going to tie again. There's no way. These coaches won't let
Trev's favorite parlay edition. Oh, it's going to be an overtime game because it's like plus 6,000.
Right.
Yeah. Well, just make sure we're only putting dollars on that one. Bet responsibly, of course. Corey, just want to shout out to you as well. Thanks for your participation here, and our thoughts are with you as well.
Oh, jeez,
in that one. So
I don't know how you guys get through it, but prayers up to all of you.
Now, one of the other big topics about this team is how the Sunday night flex, this game, NFL watched this game and said, yep, we want the whole NFL, everyone to be eyes on this game.
Heck yeah.
In 2 weeks. Now, obviously, it's playoff implications. This game could decide which of these two teams go in. Maybe not right then and there on December 18th, but that could be the difference maker 3 weeks afterwards. So what do you guys think about the flex to Sunday night?
I'm loving it. Put us on prime time, baby. We've been doing pretty well on prime time this season so far. So why not? It's better than who was it? Patriots and
I think Raiders? It was the Broncos, wasn't it? No, it wasn't another Broncos one, I hope.
It was the Cowboys and Colts. On Sunday night, wasn't it? Or was that Monday night?
Game that just played Sunday night.
That just got played.
I don't remember who it was
Sunday night. Somebody, but ours is going to be way better of a contest than that game too. So I'm about it. We're going to be there regardless anyway. So I like it.
We are going to be at the game. That's going to be one where we won't be streaming. We won't be providing play-by-play or commentary because we will be at the game. And so that's pretty exciting. Stoner, I mean, you're not coming as far as Trev. But Trev owns and operates a bar, so he doesn't have to work until 5 o'clock in the evening. You and I have to work early in the morning, and we're north of 30. How do you feel about the Sunday night flex? We're going to be there at the game, probably getting home at as Jonathan Allen talked about, getting back at 5 in the morning. What do you think about the late game?
Well, here I am going into my calendar right now and seeing what is happening on that day after, because I haven't really checked. All right, so the game is when? The 18th?
Yep.
All right, so the 19th. I mean, my first meeting's at 10 a.m. I'm good. I'll be up there. I'll be up nice and late. Let's go. No problem with that. I think it's a little bit of it's man, I'm using this word a lot. It's disadvantageous, I think is the word that I was trying to go with earlier. But when you get flexed to a Sunday night game, your next game the following week is on a Saturday, and it's in California, so you have to travel. So you have one less day. Now you're playing the night game, so you're probably not traveling until the next day or 3 or 4 in the morning or something, instead of, playing a 1 p.m. game and then leaving at, 8 o'clock at night or something. So you have one less day, and now you're traveling probably a day later than you normally would. So I mean, it's not very good for this team considering what they have in front of them, and being this time of year when every game is so critical. So I think it's going to be a little bit tough for this team to overcome all of those.
No.
It's not terrible. You know what I mean? Like every team has to deal with that, Thursday night games and all that. But it's just worse than it would be if you were going from Sunday afternoon till Sunday afternoon. Now you're going from Sunday night to Saturday, probably Saturday night or Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, I think it might be a 4:00 game for that.
Probably,
that
yeah.
one there. Now, not to jump too far ahead for us, but I mean, we do have people talking about Jimmy G being out, so maybe it's a winnable game. San Francisco getting some extra rest, so you got to deal with that. Now, I will say that I remember seeing, and I'd have to look this up for another time, but I remember seeing that teams that actually had the short rest performed better.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not necessarily a bad thing.
We'll be fine.
And Washington will have the bye. Obviously, they have the bye leading into the Sunday Night Football, so they have some rest there kind of going in. I do agree, Stoner. It's kind of unfortunate that the schedule's crunching like that.
Yeah.
I personally have no problems as well with the late night. I think it's going to be exciting in that regards. I think that I think it's great for this fan base that we have a team that's gotten flexed to a prime time game. They didn't get flexed out of that. We got flexed to. That to me, shows kind of where this team is maybe heading, and you can feel that in the stadium with the fans, just like that last game with Atlanta that I talked about. Just the stadium felt different, and so I think that it should be good. Hopefully we get people out there. Jonathan Allen's giving away 100 tickets. You can check out his socials to find out that. The team is going to be giving away some. The radio stations are giving away some. We already gave our 2 away. So hopefully we'll see you there. If you are headed there, make sure you hit us up because
looks like Craig's going to be there. So Craig, if you get out there early and tailgate, we'll be in the red zone tailgating a couple hours before the game. So come hit us up over there. There is no fees for tailgating. You can go anywhere you want to tailgate, whatever. So you can just cruise on over and check us out. But yeah, I think it's going to be packed, relatively speaking. I think it's going to be
packed.
FedEx is never really packed, but it should be hopping a little bit. EP's calling me out here in the chat. She's saying, no, we didn't. We still have 2 tickets. I wasn't going to necessarily bring this up, but so what I was talking about is we gave away the 2 sweet tickets, EP. What we do have is our 2 normal club seats that we haven't yet sold. And that's by the way, for those who might have heard, right, for the season of giving, if we would have gotten to $1,000, I was going to sweeten the pot with those 2 tickets.
That's what it was.
We didn't get to $1,000, so I didn't want to necessarily say it unless we got there. So, but we do have 2 tickets. So if you're looking for some tickets and you want to purchase, because I'm not Jonathan Allen, I don't make millions of dollars. I live on a military paycheck. So we're selling ours. But if you're a Commanders fan, I'm sure we can get you in those seats for a reasonable deal. So good stuff.
Do you ever notice that, and this is total eye test kind of thing, and I always use the NBA kind of to gauge this, but do you ever notice that when they have those back-to-back games and only one team's on the second game of a back-to-back, it's just an eye test. That team almost seems to always win. The team that's on the second game of a back-to-back, and the team that's fresher, they always seem to lose. I don't know why that is, and I don't have the numbers to support that. But just kind of check that out next time. If you're watching the game and they say this team's on the second game of back-to-back, see if they win. And that's kind of the same thing here. When you have that shorter week, as Trev was talking about earlier, I don't know if it's a focus thing, if you don't get that overload of all the practice and the film and the game. You just play off, and you just go out there and you just play when you don't have to prepare as much. So maybe that's a good thing. Who knows?
Well, I'm just going to address this one from Obey here real quick. FedEx was packed week 1. According to the books, they had 58,000 in attendance, good for 86%. And that's with the capacity set at 67.
Okay.
Which we all know the stadium was originally built with 80 plus thousand in mind. So that's covering up a whole bunch of seats. So I don't know about packed, but it did have a lot more. You usually see that happen. Yes, Gus Bus, I'm trying not to sell these to opposing fans. Although, to be fair, we did offer them up to my neighbor who's a New York Giants fan.
What are you doing?
It's friendly neighborhood stuff.
Holiday season.
He turned it down because he was going to take his kid. So thinking about the kids, but no, he's not going to go. Now
you're thinking about the cash. You're not thinking about kids.
I mean, he wasn't going to get a friends and discounts, friends and family discount. That's for certain.
Oh, okay.
But, that's what it is. All right. Well, when we get to the game, we are going to be talking about how the season has gone so far compared to our expectations and give out some accolades. All that's coming up here on The Game.
The Game is brought to you by Pacers Running Stores. Pacers has 5 stores in Northern Virginia and DC. For the best running footwear, apparel, and gear, just stop by or schedule a virtual fitting with the best running experts in the business. Pacers Running exists to help as many people as possible through running. For every run, it's Pacers Running.
I tell you what, you get with Pacers Running right now, they'll have your comfortable shoes right there before that Giants game. You'll be on walking on air at the Giants game because they're going to put you in the right ones. Pacers Running, for every run, they've got you taken care of. All right. The team is 7-5-1. How did that measure up with your expectations, Trev?
All right. On paper, beginning of the season, I thought we'd be somewhere like this, a winning record around this time, because just based off paper. And then we get to 1-4, and that's 5 weeks into the season. Still early because it's 17, 18 games, but by that time you kind of know what your team is made of looking to maybe improve it, make some trades, release some people, sign some free agents,
Mm-hmm.
But 1-4, I was like, oh, we ain't going anywhere. 7-9, 6-10, 8-9, or whatever, something crazy like that. We're not making playoffs. We'll play the spoiler role. Then we win a game here, 2-4, okay, 3-4, okay, and then 4-4, all right, 500, 4-5, yep, same old Commanders, same old skin, same old Washington, and then what do you know? We run off another winning streak, and then we tie. So to go back to week 1, it's matching my expectations from week 1 where we are. Maybe not the tie, maybe 8-4 instead of 7-5-1 or something like that, or whatever the record would be instead of the tie. But it's back to week 1 expectations, differ from where we were from 1-4.
Yeah, I think you were the most bullish out of all three of us, and
I said 12-5
to 12, right?
12. Still get to 11-5-1.
Yeah, still can potentially get close to that. How about you, Stoner? Where do they match up with your expectations?
Yeah, not to pat myself on the back too much here, but even when we were 1-4, I was on here telling you guys, I said this team just has too much talent to be sitting here at 1-4, and that they should be a whole lot better. And although they haven't necessarily taken off offensively the way I think they should because of the talent that they have, all of the weapons they have, this is what I expected as well. I expected a 9-8 type team, maybe a 10-7, and that's probably about where they're going to be. So I think that's just pretty much the expectations at the beginning of the year. Like Trev said, I'm sure it dropped for a lot of people at 1-4, but at the beginning of the year, we all thought that they were going to be about this team. But I will say this, they are overachieving. Overachieving is not the right word. They are doing well defensively, but a lot of that is because of who they're playing. It's just like in 2020 when they were playing all of those bad quarterbacks and they were feasting and they were a top 5 defense. Sure, the defense is very good, okay, but they're not great as a unit because they don't have the corners to be able to do what they need to do to be a great defense. So I think they're getting by playing the likes of Daniel Jones and Sam Ellinger and Davis Mills, all those things that we talked about at the beginning of the year. That's why that's why they are where they are with the offense barely scoring 20 points a week is because the defense is being allowed to feast on those terrible quarterbacks. Long answer of what I think they are exactly where we thought they were going to be.
You know, it's interesting. He didn't want to pat himself on the back there, Trev, but he's ignoring that he was ignoring that he wasn't alone in that take.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I am definitely ignoring that.
So he was patting himself on the back as well.
He absolutely.
Yeah, that's all I care about is my opinion.
Yeah.
Now, it's funny you talk about that. One of the things I said at the beginning of the season was this team is going to perform well, but record wise, but they were going to be paper tigers, right? The teams that they were going to lose to were going to be the good teams, and the teams they're going to win against were going to be the bad teams.
Yeah.
Now that's not really necessarily how it's shaken out because they did lose the Lions, so the Lions are coming on strong here in these last few weeks. Not necessarily a bad team,
Right.
but I mean they did lose to the Vikings, the Titans, the Cowboys, and the Eagles, all with winning records. So that's about where I think that I expected them to be with it. Now I think there were some of these games where I didn't have them losing to the Lions,
Right?
But
you didn't have them beating the Eagles.
I did have them going 1-1 with the Eagles.
Yeah,
I had a split with the Eagles.
You didn't have them beating the Packers.
Didn't have them beating the Packers.
Neither did I.
I didn't have them beating the Colts. And so, they are kind of right there in the mix of where I thought I had them, nearing the 10 games. I think I was closer to 9, but was willing to give them that extra boost. So they are right about where I expected them win total. With you, Stoner, though, I'm right. I don't understand where that offense from those first 2 games went.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know a lot.
I know where it
went with Taylor Heinicke's arm.
No, it's on the bench, just waiting to come back in. That's where the offense.
Well, what about the other 4 games when he was in there? When they were scoring less points,
like 17 points a game. Maybe
so won.
A game.
Yeah, we won. We beat the Bears 12-7. We won.
right. Scored 12 points with that offense.
Broken
and one was on the muffed punt that you only had like 20 yards to get your only touchdown of the game.
If it wasn't for Carson Wentz's inability to move the ball downfield that drive and we punted it, we wouldn't have had a muffed punt. So
hey, you're fair enough. But yeah, the offense is just not performing the way they should be.
No, we have all the weaponry to do it, and we just can't get it done. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, it is frustrating. But where were you, Nathan, at 1-4?
At 1-4, I agreed with. I agreed with you. I said I think this team is still very much capable of winning 9 games. Now I was saying they've got to prove it. I was definitely picking against them during those games because it's like, hey, until they can prove to me that they've turned it around. But even Trev agreed that we were going to get this midseason run that Ron Rivera is known for. Now, whether or not they were going to be able to keep that up was another matter. And this time they did. They didn't just string together one mid-season run. They put together just a good season. I'm willing to say, and I mean, there's still 4 games left here, but I'm willing to say this was a good season so far. Certainly things to work on. That offense we got to figure something out. Like you said, you got Curtis Samuel, you got Terry McLaurin, you got Jahan Dotson, you got Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. The tight end room, I think, needs some work. I think we were a little bit overhyped on Cole Turner. Armani Rogers came out of nowhere and I think performed adequately. Logan Thomas is definitely going to he's north of 30. He's going to be coming back from injury. He's not great, but he's serviceable.
You use your word. Use your phrase.
Decidedly mediocre.
I agree with you. I was not agreeing with you 2 years ago, but yes, I agree with you.
And then Bates is a great blocking tight end.
Yeah, who can catch a pass here and there.
Yeah. So it's this offense though. If they can get a line together that can pass block, and as Roger Smith called out with Scott Turner, not get pass happy just because you have a cannon back there and Carson Wentz, I think that this offense could potentially turn around and be more productive.
Can we get a quarterback that will start and daggone well finish the season, please? I'm tired of Taylor Heinicke stepping in and making it his show. We thought we were gonna be a 10-win team with Ryan Fitzpatrick on paper because he's a YOLO guy, and that's what we needed. And we probably could have had 4,000 yards and this and that. Might not have made the playoffs, but it would have been exciting. Goes down first game. We got Taylor Heinicke. Cool. Then we get Carson Wentz to do the same thing. He goes down. We get Taylor Heinicke. Before last year, who was it when Taylor Heinicke?
Well, you had the Alex Smith / Kyle Allen /
Dwayne Haskins.
All those guys getting hurt.
Taylor Heinicke show. So it's like, who knows what this offense is really capable of doing? Once I know we put it all on Scott Turner, rightfully so, but also he's been with how many quarterbacks the whole time he's been with Washington? Like 6 or 7 different quarterbacks.
Absolutely.
It's hard to find continuity with one quarterback. Even Taylor, you've had him in a system in Carolina before and in Minnesota, whatever. You still can't kind of figure him out yet. So it's like, you got to get him some leeway there, but also I think that's why we lack offensive productivity, because we can never find a QB1 to mainstay the entire season. We always have to derail our game plan and fix it on the fly, and it's annoying.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, it's hard. This is just, I'm asking for an opinion because we don't know. We can't predict these things. But when they were 2-4, okay, and then that was the Chicago win that got us to 2-4. Is that right? If I remember, okay, that's when Wentz got injured and injured his hand, right? Injured his finger, right? And then Heinicke comes in, and then they start winning a few games because they changed the offense, right? We all agree that they changed it to a running game.
I'm checking on right now, Stoner, because I was interested. And by the way, he did injure his hand in the Tennessee game, played injured against the Bears, and then
made it worse.
Yep, pulled it out.
Okay,
so the Tennessee game, I have it pulled up here. They ran the ball only 17 times. 5 of those were credited to Carson Wentz. But he had a good passing day, 25 for 38, good for 67 there, 359 yards, 2 touchdowns, the 1 interception. So, I mean, that game
359 yards.
But the run wasn't working that game, guys. So they
that's what I'm saying.
2.5 yards a carry.
And we didn't have B-Rob either then.
You did have B-Rob. B-Rob ran 9 times for 22 yards.
His first game.
B-Rob coming back,
second so we didn't have B-Rob then.
First game, yeah.
Okay, but so that's what I'm saying. So after that, when he goes out and Heinicke comes in, and they change the offense.
Yeah.
They said we can't have Taylor Heinicke going back there and throwing the ball 40 times like Wentz does. We can't have him getting sacked and pressured. We don't have the offensive line. They changed the game plan. They said we're gonna run the ball up and down the field no matter what. Would they have changed the offense if Wentz did not get hurt and he still would have been in there? Would they have changed it to this run-heavy offense, or would they have just continued to throw as much as they were with Carson Wentz?
I think they might would have changed it because they might have would have said, "Hey, how did you do it in Indy?" Because he had Jonathan Taylor in Indy. He had a run game in Indy.
Yeah,
so, and I think that adding our wide receivers weaponry to our run game, I think they could have done that for sure. They probably definitely could have, especially to see how B-Rob was progressing each game and each week in practice and stuff and taking over that RB1 spot. I think that they would have catered to the heavier run game. Maybe not as full as it is now, but definitely way more than 17 times. And
if you look at the Bears game, the last game he played, now granted, again, we talked about him playing injured, but it was 28 rushes to 22 pass attempts. Now, that was, Carson Wentz did not have a great game. That was 12 for 22, 99 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions. And
wasn't it cold that game? Wasn't like the first cold game we played or something like that?
It was. There was something about the weather that I remember at Soldier Field.
It was rainy.
It was a Thursday night. It
might have been cold.
it was a bad weather game, or at least it was not a great weather game. And, I mean, even Terry McLaurin fumbled this game. So, I mean, there's something going on with that particular game. I don't remember right now, but they were starting that run happy offense. I do think that Scott Turner would be tempted to use Carson Wentz's arm more than Taylor Heinicke's and kind of call differently. They would still, I think, be run first because that's their identity. I think that's going to be their identity regardless of if you put Sam Howell in there. Well, it's going to be run first. You put Aaron Rodgers back there, it's going to be run first because.
Well, it's kind of my question though. Did they do it out of necessity, or did they do it because they said this needs to be our identity? Did they do it because of the necessity of Taylor Heinicke being in there, or did they do it because they said this is what's going to win us ball games? Because I'm trying to
say it's not the QB that made it a necessity. I think it's more so the line that makes it a necessity.
I believe, I truly believe that had they changed the offense to do what it is doing now and having these 2 tight end sets, 3 tight end sets, running the ball 40 times, 50 times, and you had Carson Wentz, we'd have a totally different outlook on the possibilities of this team. And because he's going to be doing more, they're going to go out there. I believe they would go out there and they would blow Houston out. Yeah, because they would run the ball and he would make bigger plays and all of this.
Yes.
But I mean, there's obviously no way of knowing that. And right now you just have to continue it with Heinicke. It's just one of those things that baffles me about why it took them so long then to figure this out, that this is what the team is all about. It took them way too long.
I don't know if it took them that long to figure it out. I think they kind of knew that we would have some sort of running game, but we also wanted to put the ball in the air because we have Scary Terry, because we have Curtis Samuel, because we drafted Jahan Dotson. I don't think we drafted these guys and got all this offensive weaponry in the offseason just to be a run-heavy offense. But I do think they had an idea that we could do that because of Gibby and B-Rob. But I do think that Carson Wentz in there with Gibby and B-Rob in the running game now, he'd make better reads. Play action would be more effective, I think. You probably would, and I don't understand, but I feel like they would scheme RPOs more with Carson Wentz than they did with Taylor Heinicke, when they should do with Taylor Heinicke because he can run too.
Do you guys remember that that it was a goal line situation at the 5-yard line, and they had Carson Wentz on a designed run to the outside, and how he looked like 38-year-old Big Ben out there, or like Tom Brady trying to get to the sideline. He was not outrunning anybody.
It's tough.
So why is that, Trev? Why are they not calling these run options for Heinicke?
Because he doesn't take care of the ball very well when he's under pressure. When he gets sacked, it's almost a fumble every time. And then he's so small, and we don't want to put him in harm's way because our backup is Sam Howell, and then a injured Carson Wentz. That's probably why they're not scheming him for that. But I would like to see at least 4 to 5 a game.
I would too.
I mean, that's all we're asking. Just call 4 or 5 designated ones to him, and not to piggyback on the Giants game, but to Scott Turner play calling, quarterback play. We put ourselves in position, and then it's like we forget how to call a play, take advantage of that position. The Curtis Samuel run. Why after that? Why are we designing runs to the outside? Why? You just pound up the middle. We were 3 yards away from field goal range.
Well, to be fair, Brian Robinson had a first down on an outside run, and he cut it back in and got tackled short. That was on the drive that we had a potential after the big Curtis run, which was also to the outside. That we had the chance to potentially seal the game. And if he runs to the outside, that is another difference maker. And one of the few mistakes I think he ended up making that game, Brian Robinson. Taylor Heinicke has done a better job protecting the ball as of late. Now, partly that's dropped interceptions or fumbles that have kind of bounced our way.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but I mean, and this is one of the things that I've been praising him is that he seems to he's been making smarter plays. We're not scrambling him out. We're not, rolling him out rather, or we're not using his legs, but he is making smarter plays. And I think that's one of the reasons why they're keeping him in. And Carson Wentz, Trev, I'm kind of with you. I want to see him back in there because I want to see this offense be as explosive as I think it can be on paper. But he's got to show the coaches and everybody in practice. He's got to be clearly above Taylor Heinicke in practice for them to switch off the guy who's currently 6-1-1.
I think he has, bro. I think he has shown it because he's been throwing the football for a while now.
But he didn't even practice last week because he was sick.
Yeah, and I think he doesn't need to show that much in practice. I think it's Carson Wentz. It's just a broken finger. They're just riding with Heinicke because we're winning, and they want to kill the momentum, and you don't want to just take the man's job from him because he's responsible for 6 wins.
I think you could have Carson Wentz in practice, just lighten it up, just killing everybody, just zipping the ball. You're still going to roll with Heinicke as long as he continues to win and as long as the players are behind him. Once he starts, not winning and not playing well while they're not winning, then he's going to continue until then they'll make that switch. But I think it's too late this year anyway. I think it's too late. You can't bring Carson Wentz in week 15 or 16 when he hasn't played in 2.5 months. You can't do it. I just don't see that happening.
So we lose on Sunday night. You don't bring Carson Wentz in?
Well, it depends. It depends on how Heinicke plays. If he lights it up and they lose 37-35, then why would you switch it out if he led your team to 35 points? And you're definitely not.
Well, because you didn't get the win. And Ron said the reason why he's keeping Taylor Heinicke is winning.
Right. Well, the reason he's saying that is because he's not playing really well. So he uses the winning thing.
Yeah.
So if they're losing, but he's playing well, and they ask if they're going to stick with him, and he says yes, and they say why, he's going to say he just put up 380 with 4 touchdowns and no picks.
And still lost.
We lost the game, but it wasn't on him. That was on the defense. So offensively, we scored 35 points.
That's
he lit the place up. They're just not going to do it.
Tough.
It has to be a catastrophic performance at least once and possibly twice in a row.
He's had plenty of those this year, but the defense has bailed him out.
Defense has been doing an absolute job.
Absolutely.
Now, here's my question back to Stoner on this one. You said it's too late in the season. You can't come back. Are we ignoring history here? I mean, Carson Wentz himself went out and the Eagles won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles, a guy who hadn't played in months. He's the backup, but
that's out of necessity.
Doug Williams also coming in, wins the Super Bowl. I just don't necessarily buy that. Oh, you can't go back to him now. You absolutely can, but he's got to show you in practice that he's the guy.
This is what we keep forgetting.
He's the guy.
He doesn't have that equity built up from, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years with this team, with these coaches to be able to say, well, we're just going to put him back in there because we know who he is. They don't, those 6 games that he was in there, they still hadn't figured out what was going on. He had a good quarter here, a good half here, another solid quarter there, but you weren't sitting there going, well, Carson Wentz is the quarterback for the next 3 or 4 years. You were sitting there going, oh boy, we got to go find another quarterback again next year.
Our defense was pretty bad during that time. We were a completely different team at that time. If you think about it, a completely different team.
Right. But you just haven't built up that equity with him yet. So that's why I don't think you can go back to the. It's probably too late.
I don't know if it's too late.
I think we bring him back one more year.
I don't want that.
I bet you we do. Vet minimum. We don't draft anybody. We got Sam Howell. We're not trading for a quarterback.
You gotta come here. If Wentz is still on this team next year, it's because they cut him and then re-signed him.
Okay.
Because they're not paying.
He's not taking him that minimum.
$20+ million.
Okay, that's fine. But he's going to be QB1 for the Commanders next year.
He might sign sign him to 1 year deal, but that's all the way in the future. We're not even bringing up how the Howlers will come after us with our particular take with that situation. Let's move away from the QB and we're getting on the expectation part, but let's go ahead and give out some bye week trophies, if you will. Who has been, we'll start with the offense as we've been trashing them over the last 20 plus minutes here. Who has been your offensive MVP for Washington Commanders so far this season?
There's only one right answer. So don't try and be,
I got a runner-up.
I'm going to go off the beaten path here and name somebody. There's
I
one
got a
answer.
runner-up. Who is it?
Well, everybody knows it's Terry McLaurin, and it's not even close.
Does have 70% of the votes on our community page out of 570. Now, these were just put up, just earlier today. So those numbers will probably go up there, but seems to be everyone has Terry's back on that.
Try to convince me otherwise. You can't. Okay. Well,
I'll give you, Trev, do you have a different answer?
Maybe not MVP, but he's a nominee for it, but didn't have to win. Curtis Samuel. I mean, I really think that because of what he gave us last year, which was nothing to this year. It looks like we just got him this past year. It doesn't even look like we've had him for 2 years already. And I think he's come up clutch. He picks up first downs. He makes people miss. He's a good yak guy. He stays in motion. Like he's just performing up to,
I would give him most improved player for the Commanders. Absolutely. He got 3% of the votes on our offensive MVP poll here. D1 David, by the way, said, y'all tripping. Terry easy without a doubt. Y'all tripping. Terry is the best one on our team. Without Terry McLaurin, Taylor would be nothing. So
Cornelius Lucas.
Favorite there.
Cornelius Lucas.
Maybe no one from the offensive line.
Maybe Chase Rouillet, because once he went out, then all hell broke loose. I forgot
he even played for us before he went out again.
Okay. Terry seems to be the choice in our comment section. Roger, I was saying most improved for offense. Derek Forrest's Defoe is definitely probably getting that on the.
No.
Most improved.
Kendall Fuller is the most improved defensive player we have.
St. Juice could be most improved.
St. Juice, that is a good option too. Ryan, back to the offense, because I didn't give my opinion here, and I am gonna, even though I got the man signed jersey behind me, I'm gonna go with Brian Robinson here. Terry is by far the best player. Okay,
you're saying he's the most valuable player?
Yeah, that's what MVP is.
Yeah, most valuable player is Brian Robinson.
Why?
Terry McLaurin is the best player. And a lot of we've gotten away from the MVP being the actual most valuable player, and we're just putting the MVP as the best player. If you want to ask me who the best offensive player on this team is, it's Terry McLaurin. But if you're asking me who the most valuable offensive player is on this team, it's Brian Robinson. This season turns around with the addition of Brian Robinson, and Brian Robinson running for 15 plus carries a game. Did you guys not see the stat on the television this week against the Giants? We are undefeated when that man rushes for 14 or more carries. Okay, undefeated. We did not lose this last game because he did have more than 14 carries, but we didn't lose. So we're still undefeated with him running 14 or more carries. That to me is the MVP. We've won games with Terry McLaurin getting 50 yards on like 4 catches. Okay, we do not win games without Brian Robinson absolutely trucking over people. So that's why he's my MVP, most valuable player on offense.
So Nathan, what you're doing is using the words most valuable player and using them literally. But you know that's not how the MVP works.
That's how it's supposed to work.
Well, right, but it doesn't. You can say it's supposed to all you want. It just doesn't work that way. Like Juan Soto won a Gold Glove when he was rated as like the 3rd worst outfielder in the major leagues last year. Okay. You give the MVP award to the best player.
Okay.
Right. Who won MVP last year?
Super Cup
was Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. Right. I mean, they didn't even get out of the first round, or maybe they got out of the first round. I don't know. He was definitely not the most valuable player. He was the best player. So
He's
I
a
will
valuable
agree.
player, bro. It's Aaron Rodgers on his team.
Right, but
you
he's
lose Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are not a good team.
Yeah, so he's
And I'm saying if
literally
Brian
Devontae Adams
doesn't
last
come-
year.
if Brian Robinson doesn't come back from being shot,
Mhm.
this team is probably not the same team we're looking
Okay,
here.
right.
West-
I'm not disagreeing with the most valuable part. I'm just saying that that's not how they usually rule these things, right? Most valuable player is the best player on the team,
and that's Taylor.
and that's Terry McLaurin.
Terry McLaurin is by far the best
Because
offensive player.
Then
Not
you could
the most
say,
valuable, but the best player.
right? Then you could say, like I was saying before, maybe Chase Rouillet is the most valuable because ever since he went out, the offensive line went to shambles.
He is by far the most valuable offensive lineman
Yeah.
the team has.
Trey Turner.
But I get it. But I'm good with all that.
This is a good question here from Gus Bus, and Trev put this up earlier and putting it back. Do we win any of the next 4 games without Terry in the lineup?
No. You want to
I
know
mean,
why?
they do,
You want to know why? No, we don't.
but they're
Who's
not
Taylor-
going 0-4.
Who's Taylor going to throw to? Think about it.
Probably John Dotson.
I mean, he's got
Maybe.
Samuel, he's got Dotson.
I mean, he threw to Cam Sims last game, so I mean, who knows who the heck he would throw it to?
He's
It
got
would be
your-
interesting to
your
see
guy
who he
No, we
You
don't.
know-
He's foot injured.
he focuses so much on Terry McLaurin. We've
Yeah,
seen the
bad.
targets go up.
Yeah.
And so it would be interesting to see if Terry McLaurin had to sit out a game, who Taylor Heinicke is targeting that heavily. But I do believe that they can win a game in the
Right.
in the next 4
sure.
without Terry McLaurin.
Hmm.
Because what they'll end up doing is riding Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson, through to a victory.
Mhm.
So that's what I feel like. Again, Terry, right there, the best offensive player, probably the best player on the team. But that might be a debate a little
I
bit
don't know.
No,
afterward.
No.
you went too far, Nathan.
Yeah.
You've gone too far. You've
Let's
offended
go.
me.
Let's go to our defensive MVP up to this point.
That
Who do
was
you got
also
there,
a no-brainer.
That's Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne. They're
Gotta give
co-MVP.
me one or the other.
Deron Allen, Jonathan Payne.
There you go. Yeah,
I mean, seriously, you can't. I mean, they're both in one. I'm sorry, but they're both they're hand in hand, man. They are.
I mean, John Allen. Did you just watch that guy just play after play after play after play? And
Because remember, he injured his groin there for a minute.
yeah,
and
Yeah, I
came
think
right
John
back like
Allen
there was nothing.
is by far the MVP of the defense. He just and Payne. I'm not slighting Payne. Payne has been incredible, but Jonathan Allen has just been doing it from the beginning of the year, and he's just abusing guys. And those poor defensive linemen, man, they'll just beat the offensive lineman in a half a second, but the running plays going the other direction. And
I'm gonna-
they have no effect.
Let's just remind Ryan Kerrigan. He got that defensive line.
Player. I
revamped.
said player.
Okay, fine.
hey,
Okay,
been-
you're fine.
I think you
Ron
gotta
Rivera
give
for
credit
firing Mills.
to Coach Z there, rather than Kerrigan. Though I appreciate
Yeah.
having Kerrigan on there.
Get out of the way.
But by the way, I'm just going to address this real quick. Sean, we got Brian Robinson back in week 5. They were 1-3. They did not get rolling before if you're talking even just to getting into a groove, he had like 22 carries and a touchdown against the Bears. So I would pump the brakes a little bit on some of that B-Rob winning before B-Rob got on a groove type thing. It definitely coincided. Defensive MVP, we got Jonathan Allen, we got Deron Payne. That's what both of you guys are saying.
Yeah.
Either one, a coin toss between the two. Right now, Deron Payne's winning this one in our community poll. 60%
Wow.
of the people to 34% for Jonathan Allen.
Wow. That's just recency effect.
I definitely think it's recency bias because you're hearing a lot of Payne's name, and Payne has been having an absolute amazing season.
Mhm.
We are definitely team Payne the man. Pay the man,
Mhm.
right? You got to do it. So here's the thing. Jonathan Allen, this is the most valuable player. He is the heart of this defense. He's the leader.
Mhm.
He's what makes it move. He also just happens to be the best defensive player we have.
Mhm.
So it kind of coincides. Most valuable and best this time, Stoner.
He's the best. Yeah.
And so and you can even see this in practice on the field. Okay. So make sure in game time, you can see this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Allen is the one who's getting triple teamed.
Mm-hmm.
Deron Payne might get double teamed.
Hmm.
Jonathan Allen's getting triple teamed.
Mhm.
You don't triple team a guy that's not playing at an all pro level. Okay. Consistently. Sometimes you see it just because you're trying to wash out a particular player. They have to put multiple bodies on Jonathan Allen every game, and he's still cooking people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or he's doing his job, taking 3 people out, and Deron Payne's feasting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they do that game in and game out. They don't have games where they flash and games where you don't hear from them. Game in and game out, you're hearing those guys making plays, pressuring the quarterback, hitting the running back, plugging, taking up 2 and 3 blockers, like you said, that allows the linebackers to make plays, all of that. I mean, Jonathan Allen is the best player on the team. He's the most valuable player on this team. That's what I think.
Do you differ in opinion, Trev?
Nah, dog, I'm with that because without Jonathan Allen, we don't have a defense.
I think that's fair. I can agree with that. He is
Nothing in the
definitely the
games.
team's MVP because the defense would look very different without him on the field. I did just say we can win a game without Terry on the field. So I'm just happy to have both of their jerseys here signed behind me. I got to get this Terry jersey in a
frame.
In a frame.
Yeah.
But yeah, great players, good, good team chemistry with them, and I'm glad we have both of them locked up for the foreseeable future. Let's get to that most improved player. Most improved player on the offense, Trev.
Most improved. That's
Max Mill.
I mean, you said it earlier, Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just Curtis Samuel. We can go with that. Going from, I really just don't understand why they didn't put him on IR last year and they just kept dragging it out. This year, they took the Ferrari out of the garage, as Trev said, and he's been purring and doing wonderful. He's had that one game where he didn't even see a target, but he makes up for it. Whenever you see him on the field, he just seems to be doing something. We even saw that last year, right? That first game we actually got to see him play. He had 4 catches, 3 of them went for first downs. And it feels like he's that same player for us right now. When he touches the ball, good things tend to happen. And so I would definitely give him most improved. Most improved for the defense. We've gotten some people in there. Defoe. We've gotten my favorite, though, so far is the one that sticks it to you two. And that's Jamin Davis, most improved.
Absolutely. He's turned into an NFL linebacker. Has he played at some sort of huge level? No, but he's turned into a serviceable, every down linebacker. I think we put out the stat before that weeks like 7, 8, 9, something like that, his percentage of snaps was like 57%, 62%, 59%, 68%. And then the last 4 weeks, 100%, 100%, 100%, 100%. So they're obviously trusting him, and now Holcomb's been out. That's kind of been out of necessity a little bit as well, but he's not showing up to making the team and the defense looking bad.
He's also been wearing the green dot lately. He's been the guy calling the shots, and that was something they tried last year, and it failed miserably. And they didn't adjust to playing his style until this season. And even then, the first couple of games, people were wondering, "Hey, is this really going to be, a bust?" And then he just starts turning it on.
Yeah. And you can look at so many different guys on the defense too, right? Because look, last year's defense was horrible. They were a horrific defense last year. And now they're a top 10 defense in all facets. So a lot of guys got to get credit for that. Bobby McCain playing in the slot nowadays. He's been improved. Trev brought up Fuller. You just brought up Jamin Davis. Benjamin St. Juste was hurt for half the year last year.
He's hurt half the year this year.
Yeah, he's missed a few games, but he's played really well. And so a lot of these guys have played pretty well. Montez Sweat has played better this year than he did. And of course, he missed a bunch of games at the end of last year too, but he's played extremely well. But I will say that for those who were not here earlier in our show, that one big reason that this defense is playing better is because of the offenses that they're playing. They're playing bad quarterbacks week after week after week. You sprinkle it in Aaron Rodgers, you sprinkle in a Kirk Cousins, but man, it's really nice to be able to play the Justin Fields, Davis Mills, Sam Ellinger, Daniel Jones, all those guys. You're going to end up playing Brock Purdy.
Bro, Daniel Jones
you know what I
sliced
mean?
us last week.
Yeah, but he's just not a good quarterback. I understand that he does well against Washington, but he's not a good quarterback. So that's a part of the reason this defense is playing well. Also,
I do, like, I get your point, Stoner, and I agree to it to a certain extent.
Okay,
but Aaron Rodgers only had his team put up 21 points against this defense.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins only put up 20 points against this defense. The Eagles only put up 24 the first game and 21 points, and that is currently the number one team in the NFL, and their offense is legit.
Yeah, I believe I get it, but Detroit scored 38 and Jacksonville scored 30 something, and since then they've gotten better.
Jacksonville scored 22. The Lions scored 36.
Okay,
and that was before your man Cam Curl came into play.
Right. You're right. And I believe that has something to do with it.
Kind of turned it up because the most they've given up since then was the 25 points to Cooper Rush.
Ugh. Yeah. And that's crazy like that, right? Because like you said, they shut down Aaron Rodgers. They shut down to an extent the Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins combo. They shut down to a certain extent Derrick Henry. They shut down Barkley. They shut down the Jalen Hurts in that second game. So they've done a really good job of shutting down these weapons. But it's just that a lot of these quarterbacks have just not been able to overcome those guys they've shut down. They shut down Jonathan Taylor, right? But they didn't have they had Sam Ellinger, however you say his name, to kind of pick it up after that as well. So,
yeah. Sean calling out the Phillies scored 14. Their defense scored that additional touchdown. I'm also going to give a little shout out here to the Bears offense, who we held to 7 points. Now, granted, we mentioned the weather playing a factor there.
Yeah.
The next few games after the Commanders, by the way, the very next week was 33 points in a victory against the Patriots. Then it was 29 points, 32 points, 30 points, 24 points. Like, that offense was cooking immediately after playing Washington. Even beforehand, they had 22 points in the game before. So that's another offense I feel like Washington, when you look back on the season, Washington's defense had a good game against. And so, yes, I agree. They're not playing the elite quarterbacks day in and day out. That's going to be something we're going to have to see in the playoffs, whether or not they can do that against a playoff quarterback.
I know what you're doing.
But that's a topic for the cool down. Yes, of course. So when we talk during the cool down, it's going to be whether or not Washington is going to make the playoffs. What do they have to do? All that's coming up here on the cool down.
The cool down is brought to you by Manscaped. Ever since my Nathan started using their products, I can't cool down. Fellas, trust me. Go to Manscaped right now and get 20% off and free shipping by using the code REF. Your ladies will appreciate you. Now back to Trev, Stoner, and my Manscaped man, Nathan.
Holidays coming right around the corner. It's your time to get that free shipping, 20% off. Stay fresh with Manscaped. Just go to manscaped.com. Use the code REF. That's R as in ref, E as in F, and F as in F. 20% off and free shipping. Was that what you want? Was that what you thought I was doing? Was that segue?
Yeah, I knew what you were doing there.
Michael called me out there as well. Absolutely love to try to drive the show forward, just like Washington's driving itself into playoff position. Currently the 8th seed, but I feel like this year,
no such thing, but okay. They're in the 8th position, but there's no position.
True. Okay.
Seeds.
Fair enough. If I'm going to go with most valuable player, you're right. I should probably use words that have meaning. So the 8th position in the NFC, they need to get to the 7th seed. This team, 7-5-1, even though they're in that 8th position, I feel like they're in the driver's seat for one of these playoff spots. They kind of control their own destiny in a way. even though they're outside. Normally, you say they control their destiny when they're in one of those seeds, and all they have to do is just stay winning, and they're good to go. But this team, outside playoff positioning right now, do they control their own destiny?
They don't control their own destiny in the truest definition of that. But if they win every game, which is, controlling your own destiny in that manner, then they're definitely going to get in, because there's no way that all these other teams are going to win the rest of their games, because they can't, right? The Giants have to play Washington. So if we win all the rest of our games, there's a loss for the Giants.
They got to play Philly on Sunday too.
Right. But if they do win all of their games other than the Washington game, then they'll be ahead of Washington. They'll have one more win than Washington. But Seattle and San Fran, they play each other. So one of them is going to get a loss as well at the very minimum.
Go San Fran.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many variables to this, but I think all it's going to take for this team is to go 2-2 and get to 9-7-1. I think that gets them into the playoffs.
I forget who
because
it was.
those other teams aren't going to win all of them.
I forget who it was in our comment section, but they said 9-7-1 isn't going to be good enough to make the playoffs.
They said 10-6-1 is not good enough.
Oh,
I guarantee 10-6-1 get in. There's
He's
only
3-1. We go 3-1 here.
Well, I mean, you want to go 4-0. We all understand that, but I don't think they need to go 3-1 to get a playoff spot. There's 7 playoff spots. There's only 8 teams vying for those spots. You can count out the Lions and the Falcons and all those 5-win teams. They're not overcoming 2 teams in order to get into the playoffs. They're not going to win their last 4 games. There's a reason they're 5-8 or 5-7-1 or whatever. So all they have to do, basically, it's going to come down to them and the Giants. I really believe that. So Seattle and San Francisco are probably both going to get in, I think. I don't think San Francisco is just going to collapse. And then it's going to be us and the Giants. And they've got a tougher schedule. I think San Francisco is just too well built overall. I know, but they have a great defense. They have a good run offense that can overcome a Brock Purdy.
But you gotta.
I'm not scared of Purdy. I've watched him play out there at Iowa State to be afraid of that guy. But
yeah,
that's not the driving force for that team. It is absolutely their defense, and they offensively they can scheme enough for Brock Purdy to be somewhat successful. So that one's going to be still a difficult game in conjunction with those things we talked about earlier, right? With the short week, with traveling cross country, all that's going to be different. But Trev, Stoner saying 2-2 makes the playoffs at 9-7-1. Does Washington make the playoffs, and what do they have to do to get there?
Yeah, we make the playoffs. We have to win out. We can't. I don't like this 2-2
win out.
3-1. We gotta win out just to be on the same.
They have
side.
to have 11 wins to.
I mean, I don't know. We have a tie on our record. We don't know what that means. I don't know what that means personally. I'm gonna have to do some more research. I just think that if we go 2-2, you're just playing with fire because Seattle's 7-5. They could beat San Fran. You never know. Just because they have good defense. Brock Purdy might.
That's what I'm saying. Seattle's in, Trev.
But we're right behind Seattle, so I think we still have to.
We have to overcome the Giants as well.
That's all you got to overcome is the Giants.
Yeah, it's just the Giants is the main win we have to do because they're in our division.
I wanted to clarify when I said 2-2, one of those wins has to be the Giants. It has to be the Giants. If you lose to the Giants, 2-2 is not going to do it. But yes, I believe 2-2, you beat the Giants, you get in. The Giants have to play. Look who the Giants have to play. They have to play Philly this week, and then what I'm saying is if we beat them, right? So you assume they're going to lose to Philly. Yeah, then if we beat them, you got a game up on them already, right? Then they've got Philly again at some point. They got Minnesota.
They end the season with Philadelphia.
Yeah, and they've got Minnesota, and they've got, I think, Indy.
Colts, yeah.
Right. So let's just say they win the Indy game or whatever. I don't think they're also going to beat Philly for the second time. They're also going to beat Minnesota.
Week 18 is Philadelphia playing for anything? Week 18.
That's a crapshoot. That's a monkey wrench into the whole thing for sure. But same with Dallas. When we play Dallas in Week 18, they might not be playing for anything either.
No,
and we would be playing for something. So it could be the same situation. Go 2-2. You're going to overcome the Giants as long as you beat the Giants next week, and you'll be in.
So
and you don't
then,
have to worry about Seattle and San Fran. They're both in. Let them both in, and no problem. We'll get the 7th seed over the Giants.
and we'll play who? The number 2 seed first in the wild card round?
No, first 2 get buys.
No,
So
first
then-
one gets a bye.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
just
first
the
one
one.
gets a bye.
Yep.
So
You're
we-
playing
Yeah,
the
so
the
you play
two
2. You
seed,
play
would be
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Oh, we could win that game.
You can win that game. Absolutely, you can win that
Yeah.
game.
Should've
Up in
won.
Minnesota, in a dome. You got to
Should've-
worry about elements. You can beat Minnesota. So all you got to do is win over the Giants. And right now,
two wins,
come
one over
next
the
week-
Giants is going to get you in.
come next week, you're going to have the same record. You're both going to be 7-5-1, hopefully. Right? They're going to lose to Philly. And then that next week is going to be the play-in game. Basically.
All right, check this out. Giants beat Philadelphia Sunday. What do we have to do? Win 3?
Then you're probably going to have to win 3. And one of
That's-
them being the Giants, because they're going to definitely beat Indy. And then, of course, if they beat Philly in that last week with nothing to play for, then you got to overcome them. You have to go past them. But if they lose to Philly next week or this week, then you come into that game, you got the exact same record. And all you got to do is beat them. And then let the rest play out as it normally would. 9-7-1 will get you in.
So next Sunday is a must-win game.
It's a playoff game. It's not even it's not a regular season game. It's an absolute playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
You lose, you're out. You win,
Yeah.
you're in.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's definitely the way it's looking. The 49ers have the Buccaneers, Seahawks, Commanders, Raiders, and Cardinals. Those are some very winnable games there, even with Brock Purdy.
Also
playing.
very losable games too, though. Seattle's a division game. You can't count against Tom Brady. I don't care if he is 6-6. You can't count him out.
They're winning this week. Tampa's beating them this week.
Yeah, I think so too. They got us, which
Yep.
they could beat us. We could beat them.
That's a tough game.
Raiders, you never know.
I'm gonna be at that game,
You
by the
never
way.
know. The Raiders game.
Raiders and Niners.
The
Most
Raiders
I
will
don't
win
have
that
tickets
game
yet,
because Turner will be there, so Raiders will probably pull one out of their butt and win that one, and then they'll beat Arizona. So I mean, it's a crapshoot for Giants, Niners, and our schedule after that. It's just
Seahawks have the Panthers, 49ers, Chiefs,
Winnable.
Jets, and
Ooh.
Rams.
Oh, they could lose to the Chiefs, the Jets.
Yeah, they're probably gonna end up at like a 9.
They might be out.
or
Mhm.
or a 10 and
Let's see.
8-7.
This is the team, Stoner, you're worried about here. Panthers, victory.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. 49ers.
They might lose that one. They could win.
Real quick.
I think San Fran wins that game.
All right. So they're 1-1 now. Chiefs, they're losing.
Yep.
Jets.
Winning.
Okay. So 2-2, and then Rams. So you're saying they're going to go 3-2 because we're all
Yeah.
going to say they're going to beat the Rams.
Yeah. And what are they now?
They're
7-5.
7-5. So that puts them
Yeah.
at 10-7.
10 and
We'll
7.
put them 10-7. So then what's our record if we go 2-2? Are we 10?
We're
something?
9. No, we're
9-7-1.
9-7-1.
Yeah, we
Trev,
don't get
where
in.
the tie comes into play.
No, we're gonna beat the Giants. We don't care about San Fran and Seattle. Let them have those 2 playoff spots. We only need to beat the Giants. We only need to finish ahead of the Giants. You finish ahead of the Giants, you don't care what San Fran and Seattle do. They're
It's-
already in right now.
Yeah, but if they
The
go
Giants are above
10-7 and we go 10-7-1, aren't we the odd man out because we have that tie?
No. So
No.
if you finish with the same number of wins as the team,
Yeah.
you're ahead of them because you don't have as many losses.
Well, you're not
That's
going to
where the
finish with the same
tie-
number of wins. That's not possible if they don't have a tie. They're 10 and 7. You'll be 9-7-1.
That's right.
That's
yeah.
if you go
okay.
2-2. But Stoner, you can absolutely have 10 wins.
Yeah, why if we win the
You
next
can go-
4
you can
games,
go
we're 11.
You can go 3-1, and they'd be 10-7. You'd be 10-6-1. You're ahead of Seattle in that regards.
Right. I
Okay.
understand what you're saying.
All right, guys.
But what I'm saying is don't worry about San Fran and Seattle. Okay?
All right.
Because like I said, they're already in right now,
Mhm.
right? And the only team that's ahead of us that we can do something about
Seattle.
are the Giants.
Oh, Giants, yeah.
The Giants are the 7 seed, right?
No, they're the 6th seed.
6 seed, 7 seed, whichever. They're the team that you can overcome That's your destiny.
They're the most vulnerable. Absolutely.
Yeah, and they're the most vulnerable because they've got Minnesota, Dallas, Philly twice.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
could
the
be
hardest
4
schedule in
losses.
the NFL.
And Washington,
Yeah.
right? You beat them, you're in the playoffs.
Let's go.
That's it. And San Fran and Seattle can win all their games except for the one they play against each other.
Nah,
We
nervous.
don't care.
We don't even play this Sunday, and I'm nervous.
Two things to hit up real quick here.
Right.
See no one. Dallas can't move up to the 2 because the first 4 spots go to your division leaders. That's why someone from the NFC South could potentially be hosting a game with a losing record. I think I saw some crazy tweet out there.
Looks like we did.
Where the Panthers, yes, but the Panthers could potentially host a game with something like 6 with the 6 wins on the season.
Mm-hmm.
That's how crazy.
Why couldn't they move to 2 if they overcome the Vikings?
Dallas can't move to 2 because
because
they're a
they're
wild
not,
card.
Yeah.
They're not, because Philadelphia would get the spot. I guess you could potentially see Dallas move up to 2 if
they overcome
Philly drops and Minnesota goes to number 1.
Yeah, you're right.
That's how they can potentially do it. But Dallas isn't going to move up to 2 in a wild card spot. The other thing is we're being told we're sleeping on Detroit here.
No, they're 5-7.
Currently 5-7.
They're not beating Minnesota.
They're not beating. Yeah, it's the Vikings, the Jets, the Panthers, the Bears, and the Packers. Those are
all winnable games.
They're not winning all of those games though.
Do you know why I'm sleeping on them? Because they're 5-7.
Exactly.
Okay, if they were 7-5, I'd be worried about them. But there's a reason they're 5-7.
One more loss, it pretty much puts them out.
Yeah. Because then the best they can do is 9-8,
which is coming this Sunday against Kirk,
and that's not happening. They're not beating a 9-7-1 team.
No.
Yeah. So don't worry about the Lions and the Panthers and the Falcons and all those 5-win teams.
Lions, Tigers, and Bears.
There's a reason they're 5-win teams right now.
He went there, Trev. Did he not? He was like, don't worry about the Lions, the Panthers. I was like,
my.
Yeah, you got to go there. I think 2-2 does make the playoffs. I think going 9-7, you do have to win that game against the Giants. That's the pivot. That's the one that matters.
Mm-hmm.
If they beat the Giants and they beat the 49ers, I almost think that's obviously going to make them be able to be 2-2. Those last 2 games might not even matter, right? The Browns won. That's an AFC game. It's not going to matter too much for the standings portion of it. Obviously, it's going to be, if you lose it, it's still going to be a loss, but it's an AFC. It's not a conference one. It's not a division one. So it's not stacking you up in the NFC playoffs as tiebreakers stand. And then the Cowboys, that one, if we go into week 18 as a must win at FedEx Field,
we beat Dallas.
Trev says we're beating Dallas. Stoner, what are you saying?
Yeah. Well, if they have nothing to play for,
and
you have everything to play for, then yeah, you're beating Dallas.
We're beating them right now.
I'm sorry, Trev. Dallas is a damn fine football
They're a good team.
Okay, it was the Colts, you guys. Let's be honest. It was the Colts.
That's not why we're saying
that they beat. I'm talking about their entire season. What are they, 9-3?
Okay, they have 2 more wins than us. Big whoop.
They're an excellent.
They have 2 more wins than us and 2 less losses. Big whoop.
Okay.
I mean,
2 words.
What?
Dak Prescott.
Oh my God.
That's not what I said. Their defense is probably better than
their defense is fantastic.
So they did beat the Colts, Trav, as you mentioned, but they also beat the Vikings, who we lost to 20-17. They beat them 40-3.
We should have beat them, bro.
Now, granted, they did lose to the Packers, where
Taylor Heinicke lost us that game. Taylor Heinicke and Carson Wentz lost us the Titans game. Seriously.
Yeah.
Did you guys saw the graphic I put in the group chat today? I'm not going to read them all out, but the what if.
Oh yeah, so that was actually pretty cool. Let me see if I can bring that up.
I didn't go through. I don't do what ifs very well.
All I want to throw is what if every one possession NFL game had the opposite result is what it was.
Yeah.
Our record would be 4-8-1. Here it is. Yeah, check it out, Stoner.
So this is the what if standing. So this, for every one possession NFL game, if it had the opposite result, this is how
I don't understand that. That's why I didn't really read it.
I mean, it's like it comes down to one possession. Yeah.
If the score can be flipped off of one score or one possession, how would they be? And the Vikings are 1-11.
That's how many they've won almost every game by one score.
So this is a one-score game.
One score or less game. Yeah.
This is your record in one-score games.
Because we lost 20-17 to Vikings. That's like a one score or less.
Right. One-score games, and you flip the record.
Yep. So if we won that, we would.
Well,
so our record would
I mean,
be
that doesn't make sense either. It still doesn't make sense to me.
Oh, it's totally not something that's realistic.
I mean, I just don't understand it.
It's saying if the ball bounced a different way than what it actually ended up being, this is what our records would be today. If every one possession, one single score game was different, let's say we won 20-17 instead of losing 20-17, and let's say the Vikings won 20-17 instead of losing 20-17.
So what you're saying by this chart, what it's saying is every single team has played at least every single game has been a one possession game.
No.
Because all the records are changed.
No. This is just flipping those that were one score games.
Yeah, and this is the record. So
you still keep your same win or loss if it was
if you beat them off the bricks. So like that 40-3 game the Cowboys had against the Vikings, they were going to lose that game regardless. Right? But the 2017 game against us, they're saying Washington wins that one instead of the Vikings. And it's kind of a neat little thing. It doesn't mean anything.
No,
not at all. But it was kind of a neat look at how the teams kind of play. And
Eagles would be 6-6. It kind of tells you how really the NFL played all season. Like there's not really one dominant team. All these dominant teams are winning by one possession or one score or less this year, for the most part.
Okay. It's kind of interesting. I'll give that. I will say this, that right now 538 is giving Washington 70% chance to make the playoffs as of today.
Because we are.
So that's a pretty good number. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with the 538 website, but I'm just saying that's what they give.
So Football Outsiders does their own statistics, and I love myself some Football Outsiders. They have Washington as one of the top 10 defenses, and the special teams is top 3. So that alone is going to be worth its salt getting us forward. If this offense can ever work it out, that's going to be the difference maker. That's going to be what makes this team go in the playoffs, and whether or not they can win in the playoffs, well, you just have to stay tuned to us and see what we think about that as we go forward. There will be no live stream this Sunday as we do not have a game. It's a bye week. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. There's no day after reckoning because there's no game. So we'll be back next week right here on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter with our flagship program here on Ref the District. Gents, did you have anything before I officially close it out?
MVP of the coaches, quick. Who are they?
I'm going to go with Ron Rivera simply for firing Sam Mills. That move alone changed a whole lot.
I'm going JDR because he finally got off social media and put all his focus in the defensive playbook and got rid of William Jackson, and our defense is lights out ever since that move. So
I'm going to go with Ron Rivera because he's the one who makes everything move. That's it. Everything. It's kind of like Jonathan Allen. He's the leader. Terry McLaurin, the leader. Yeah. You're not the same team without Ron Rivera being the head coach here. And even if he's been kind of with our franchise, he is the reason why Washington is currently sitting at 7-5-1 and looking at the playoffs. And again, we'll be back next Wednesday with Authentic from Authentic in the Beard, breaking down that Giants game. So look forward to getting there. But until next time, be a fan.
Let's go.